Hey everyone, welcome to Nurse Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're doing a review of the movie Bad Boys for Life. So what we did is we watched the first two movies prior to watching this one, since it's been a while since we saw the first ones. We'll kind of give you our impressions of this specific movie. We're not reviewing the first two, but give us our impressions on this new movie. Completely spoiler free. We'll jump into discussing any specific plot points and things we liked, completely spoiler filled. And then at the end, we'll kind of give you our final opinions. So if you haven't watched the movie, we'll let you know when the spoilers come, and you can stop and come back and watch the video after at that point in time. So with that, let's dive right in. So the movie was great. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
What else is there to say without like jumping into specifics?
Yeah. I was a little nervous before going to it. The second movie I thought was so great. The first movie I enjoyed as well. Really enjoyed the third movie. I was happy. I didn't want to go in with too much hope.
Mm-hmm.
But then, once I got into it, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be, they made a third one just to get some money or to continue the franchise. But they seemed to do it right and did it for the right reasons.
Yeah. I was interested in how much they would use Martin Lawrence in contrast with Will Smith, because Martin Lawrence hasn't really seemed to be on the big screen in a while.
Yeah.
And based on the footage from the trailers, I was like, oh, he's gained some weight, and clearly he's probably taking a break and whatnot, spend more time with family, things like that. But I figured that this would be a big thing for him, and what's going to happen kind of with that. So I felt that they used them very well. How the movie progressed with, without going into any specifics, how much they use Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and, the plot of the story I thought was really well done. Definitely different from the previous two in that it wasn't just a Michael Bay action movie, but there actually was, in my opinion, some substance in regards to the plot and kind of where they were going with it, and definitely wanting to set up potential sequels.
Yeah, so it says here that they have announced another Bad Boys 4.
Perfect.
So it has been announced.
Yeah.
And both Martin Lawrence and Will Smith will be back in it. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see who else signs on for it. But it has been announced that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So it kind of gives me the Fast and Furious vibe of like the first few ones are all about street racing. And then the movie kind of decides to try to get a little bit more serious in tone in regards to like some sort of through storyline. Mystery and things kind of going on, and how it kind of ties in the loose ends. It's still an over-the-top action movie, and we know it is what it is. It is a Fast and Furious movie. It's going to be silly and over-the-top, but it works for what it is. And I think that this is great because they tried to scale it back. I thought that there was moments in the first, more so in the second, that were a little bit ridiculous with like
the
some
cars
of the action
flipping
moves.
and the boats
and then people
like
coming out without any scratches, or just how they're dealing with certain stuff. And I felt this one was a little bit more. They tried to get a little bit more realistic with like, Mike Lowry's a little older now. Obviously a lot of time has passed. How would they react in this day and age? What are they going up in this day and age? What is the enemy going to look like?
Yeah, like the new technology, all this thing that, they've gotten older. There's still younger people coming through, the new technology, new ways of policing, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I thought they did a great job, and overall I really, really enjoyed kind of how it came to a close. So, I gave it, really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good, and I definitely recommend go watch it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to approach the spoiler-filled section now, where we're going to discuss very specific parts of the movie that we liked and discuss the plot and spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop now. You can come back and watch the rest of it later. And with that being said, let's dive right in. So yeah, why don't you start?
So I enjoyed. So I like that they brought certain points back into the movie. Like one of my favorite parts in Bad Boys 2 was when Reggie came over to take, Martin Lawrence's character Marcus Burnett, his daughter on his first date.
No, was that in the first or second?
That was in the second.
That was in the second. Okay.
Yeah, so he comes over, Will Smith and him do their little thing of trying to scare him and everything, and then they bring Reggie back. So they start the movie off with Marcus's daughter. They're Marcus and what's Will's character? Mike
Lowry.
Mike Lowry. So Mike and Marcus are driving wildly, and police are chasing them. And so you're like, oh, are they undercover? You know, they don't want to be busted or whatever. And you find out that they're racing to the hospital because Marcus's daughter is having a baby.
That's right.
He comes in, the baby, and then they show the dad. It is Reggie in military uniform. And so that was kind of like a funny callback to him being involved and that part, you know, still playing out. So I really enjoyed those kind of throwbacks, all the characters coming back, the captain coming back. Yeah. I thought that was very important because he was like a good balance between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and still comedy, but you know, still had a role in it. So I really enjoyed those kind of aspects to the movie, and overall, just I wasn't sure if it was just going to be action packed, no real story, but we find out as we go through, there's actually a really good story to it.
Yes.
It's not what. So when I first started watching it, I thought, oh, this is going to be a certain way. I'll let you describe first your thoughts before I tell you how I thought it was going to. But I'll let you know that I thought it was going to go a little bit different way than it actually did. And I'll tell you what I thought after.
So are you referring to are you referring to the race scene, or are you referring to like before we even get to that point?
So
like when we find out from Marcus on an aside that he's basically planning to retire. Are you talking about that?
No, so like the whole plot of the story where we get to the end where, you know, the family's going after these certain people in the movie, Mike being one of them because of a case. I thought the case was going to be a different kind of family or a different kind of background to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just the overall story, I thought it was going to be something different.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any expectations for what the story for this one was going to be. I knew that, you know, they were older, so I figured it was going to be a little bit more like Lethal Weapon, like I'm getting too old for this, and I don't want to do this anymore. And we got some of that from Marcus, and then we find out that he wants to retire, and that he's basically not going to be a partner with Mike anymore, because Mike doesn't want to retire, he wants to do this forever.
Yeah.
And so when we hear that, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's going to be about, you know, them kind of doing stuff together, but Marcus isn't really going to be in it. He's getting older. He doesn't want to do this anymore. And then sure enough, you find out, you know, after he has a kid and, you know, he's a grandfather, that like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm done with the cop thing. I'm going to enjoy my family, enjoy my kid, my grandson getting, you know, growing up and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I didn't have any expectations from a plot. I thought that it was an interesting way of doing it. Okay, so Marcus is not going to be the cop anymore. And I thought, okay, maybe it's also because if you think of like Han Solo or like the old actors bringing into the movie, it's like, well, they can't do as much as they used to. Like Will Smith has been acting, he's fit, he's muscular, he's in shape. Yeah. He can do all the running and all the crazy stuff, but I don't think Martin Lawrence can do that anymore. Probably so not. This was like, oh, okay, I guess he's gonna retire, and that's how it's gonna be his little thing. So I thought that was an interesting way of not using him as much, but then we find out that he definitely is in the movie a lot more than you thought based on the fact that he was retiring, and he did running and did some stuff, and I was like, okay, it's pretty cool. Like I thought it went really well, but
yeah. So I thought it was cool that you actually saw one of the main characters get shot, and you thought, oh, you know, how are they going to play this one out? You obviously know that he's going to. Yes. So they essentially race and make a bet saying if Mike wins, then they don't retire until like. Yeah.
So after having the baby, they go out to celebrate. Correct. All the cops and stuff. So Marcus Burnett is there at I guess it's like a police bar or whatever.
Pretty much. The captain,
all the cops, everyone's there. And they're there and they're, you know, having drinks, whatever, they're all cheering him, whatever. And so they had some comments back and forth between Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett and stuff about like, you know, I outran you or I'm better than you or whatever in this case, and I did this or whatever. And so they're like, well, yeah, let's settle this now. So they decided to do a foot race. And as they're doing the foot race, Will Smith is just like gunning it,
which would be in reality.
Realistically that would be the case. And then some guy on a motorcycle comes by and just shoots him 3 times in the torso, I guess, the chest and the stomach or whatever, and he hits him 3 times. And he's out. He's on the floor. He's bleeding. And you know, I was like, wow, I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
And
the first time they've actually had a scratch kind of thing to him.
And it was like, oh, is he dying? He's like blacking out. Marcus is like freaking out. And then they kind of cut over to like them trying to save him and like him in the hospital and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is like they're trying to get more emotional, more serious with what's going on here. And they're not like bulletproof. Again, like if you look at it too, with the drug lord and like the explosions in the house and all the crazy stuff. And like not a scratch on them. You know, they get a couple cuts and bruises, but for the most part, they're like, you know, bulletproof. Yeah. And then it's like, no, they're not, you know. like that. So I thought it was cool. Showed some emotion, but yeah, I thought it was a really cool like to set the movie up this way. I was like, oh, so is it gonna be Will Smith? Because then eventually it gets to the point where he's in a wheelchair,
Yes,
and he can't walk. So I'm like, oh, so is it gonna be he's not? He's in a wheelchair, so he has to retire, and Marcus has to keep doing stuff. I was really confused at where they were going with it, but
yeah. So I like that it was more realistic, where they are older,
yes.
and they can get hurt now and can get hit, and they're not invisible like they were in the first two movies, essentially. The other thing I really liked is the route that they're going. So essentially, it's a female and her son trying to seek revenge because her husband and his son or father were put behind bars and essentially died behind bars and were taken away from their family because of
a bunch of people.
Mike Lowry
and Mike Lowry. It was one of his
and
first
cases, undercover guy, and all these things. So what I thought it was the family of either one of the first or second bad guys, either the drug lord family or the guy. I guess the drug lord in the first movie as well.
That's fair. Yeah.
So when I was watching, I was like, oh, it's going to be like one of those guys, and this is their family because they're both kind of have that cartel, Mexican background and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, the second one was in Cuba.
Yeah.
So I definitely thought that for a second. I was thinking, okay, maybe it's him because of because there was a young daughter.
So, yeah.
But we didn't see anything about his son, and I'm like, he was so wealthy, he was like rich and everything that had taken place with them, and losing the amnesty and stuff there. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I'm following. I kind of get what's going on here, but I thought.
So I thought it was the guy from the first movie, originally. And I kept thinking, okay, that's more likely, his wife, whatever. But it ended up being big spoiler here.
Yeah.
So when Mike was undercover, they kind of had a love relationship with this mother, female, and she gave birth. She ended up going to jail because Mike turned her in as well, and she gave birth 8 months after she was in prison. So, the other guy could not, the husband could not produce a child. So he found out that he did, once finding out who the female was that was trying to seek revenge, he kind of deducted that was probably his son.
That's right, and the main killer was the son that was going out, basically killing all these people. He was the one who shot Will Smith, and he was like basically
lawyer. There's a snitch kind of guy. There's another detective, and then the captain.
Yeah, like he was like lethally trained, like an assassin almost, and he was really well done. He was there, like he had 4 or 5 guys, guns to him, and he took them all out, and so like he's very dangerous. And so it was really cool. Like, oh, okay, he's gonna have to go up against Mike Lowry, and Mike Lowry's no longer in his prime. And then we find out that it's your own kid, so your DNA is going through him. And it's funny because I had just watched about a month ago. I watched Gemini Man.
I did as well,
and I was like, oh wow, there's some parallels here. And I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Okay, like I definitely saw some similarities there. But I enjoyed what they did here.
Yes,
and it made sense.
And it was a good storyline and a good plot. And it was kind of like you didn't really see it coming until the very end, where he's like, "Oh, this could be my son." And I know we turned to each other like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming." We thought, "Okay, it's the family of someone that he, kind of screwed over, either the first movie, or second movie, or someone totally different, and that this is just a family seeking revenge."
Or he thinks it's the son, but in reality, it's not.
Yeah,
one of those situations.
Yeah, but so I thought they did a really good storyline plot. Not over the top, more realistic, not as much explosions. The firefights weren't as crazy. Mike got wounded very severely. So I thought all those things combined made it more realistic, more down to earth, less crazy, just action movie explosions, Michael Bay kind of style.
Yep, and then they had some like silly chase scenes that when they split off into that like motorcycle scooter situation, and the splitting off of that scooter would have crashed long earlier, but suspension of disbelief, and it's a movie and you're having fun with it. But like when they got to the point where he's basically off the motorcycle running to catch that helicopter, and like, you're holding on for your life, and you're tired, and then the guy gets killed, and you're like, I'm gonna die, and it just felt like, okay, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, he's in shape enough that he would probably be able to make that jump. And then even though he did, he was like barely hanging on, and it wasn't just climbing up and getting on. He had to let go and fall into the water. And so I thought, again, a lot of the choices that they made sense, and I thought it was really cool how they kind of brought the story from beginning to end. I liked the son revelation, the fact that they'd made comments about him, being single and he needs to settle down and all this stuff, and him talking about finding love, and that he only found love once in his life. And I was thinking, oh, okay, this is his sister, because again, that's the only thing that I had an issue with is for the majority of the movie, until a specific point, they made no mention of the fact that he even dated his sister.
Yeah.
Because they made mention of like previous girlfriends and sleeping around, and I'm like, you didn't mention the fact that you were like in what seemed like a very serious relationship with his sister. He like loved her, and I thought that they were gonna get married. Like it just felt like that serious with like everything that happened in the second movie, and then it ended with them together. You'd think that's where it was going, and then not even a mention like, yeah, things didn't work out because of this. Like there was no mention of it, and then there was an offhand comment of the fact that he dated his sister or something.
Yeah, it was like as angry as your sister when I broke up with her. He goes, no, that was me more angry.
Yeah, and then that was it. And then they just kept going, and it was just okay. So they do recognize it, but they're basically just making it as if it was just a fling, which didn't seem genuine to everything that had happened in the second movie. That was the only thing that was like, they should have probably dwelt more on it or explained why it didn't work out.
Yeah, like she had to move away and long distance didn't work or wouldn't, make it work.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. It's a very small thing. It didn't ruin the movie at all, but it was just like, okay, with all the homage that they're paying over the first two movies and callbacks and all this kind of stuff, you would think that would be an important thing not to kind of brush over, which they did. Yeah. And I wonder if it was because they could not get that actress, or maybe she was not.
She's very popular. Gabrielle Union, I believe her name is. She's married to a basketball player who's doing very well. He's now retired, Dwayne Wade. And they're also live in Miami, so that's where it was shot. So I'm surprisingly she couldn't make a little cameo, but maybe she wasn't interested in acting anymore. I don't think she's doing much right now, or she's doing. Yeah. I think she did a TV show recently, so maybe the schedules didn't meet up for recording purposes. So, but still having more of a mention or explanation would have,
Yeah, and she could come in for the potential next sequel, come back into his life, because now the love of his life, which was the mom. Because we found out he was in love once, and then he tells a story of the fact that he was undercover, and then he fell in love, and it was so serious that he felt really bad to turn away. In fact, they had a plan to just run away together and like leave the cops and just like screw everything. Yeah. And then
he realized she was like too much.
She was so she was so bad that he could not be there, and turned around and made the right choice, even though he regretted it. And then even then, like he kind of came to her and kind of, you can still see that there was some raw emotions there. Like she was betrayed, and he kind of still had a thing, but not really. But you know what I mean? Like he didn't want to kill her, but had to confront her. And I thought they did that really well. The whole jokes about her being a witch and the Bruja, and Marcus Burnett, Martin Lawrence, it was just pretty funny, a lot of that stuff.
And I like the combination of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Yes.
They have a good, yin and yang. They can give and take. They know, when to be funny, when to be serious, and they have that good chemistry together. So you can really tell in the finished product that they work well together. They enjoy working together and have fun.
They still make jokes about him not driving fast enough, things like that from like the previous movies.
Exactly.
I think the first movie was like, that's how you shoot. That's how you shoot. The second movie was all like, that's how you drive. You drive like that from now on. And in this one, they talked a little bit more about the driving again. But I thought it was funny that, again, it was just callbacks and the relationship, kind of where they've been and how far they've come and stuff.
Now, what were your thoughts? Because similar to Fast and Furious, they introduced some new characters to kind of join the team and kind of make it more of a bigger team squad atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So they have about 3 younger people now and one, middle-aged person, probably a little bit younger than Mike and Marcus.
Who he had a relationship with.
That's right. Mike had a relationship with her as well. And she eventually becomes the captain at the end, after the captain is the previous captain was shot by
killed.
Marcus or Mike's son. So what did you think of the younger?
I thought it was a great new way of bringing some fresh humor and situations to put them in, because it was, again, a fish out of water situation where these are the street cops, this is how they do things, but so much has evolved. Technology, protocols, weapons, just things that they do now. Like, you don't need to go bust in on a raid. You can send in a drone to do it instead. And so these guys are all like about the technology and how to do things to have the smallest amount of casualties and keeping everyone safe and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And he's like, I just go in there, I can just grab the guys right there, we can just grab them and question them, and they're like, no, like we can do it this way because then there's less chance of anyone getting killed, getting hurt. And so I thought it was funny, the different personalities of the different people, how they played off
each one had a different personality,
and how they like revered or lack thereof, how, whether they cared or not cared for the fact that this is the legendary Mike Lowrey. And you have the one guy, the Asian dude, who was a little bit more like, yeah, whatever, like making fun of him,
that young punk kid.
I'm better than you kind of thing. And then you had the really big, strong guy who probably could take him on. Was very like, like starstruck. Sorry,
thank you. And he's more like he's the tech guy, and Mike's like grabbing his muscles, like, you're a big guy, like you stand behind the desk. He's like, I'm more comfortable behind the desk. And I like the one part where he's like, I'm going to need you to shoot people, and I'm going to pay for your therapy. And the big guy's like, I'm going to need this therapy. You better hold the true, because I'm going to need this. He's like, don't worry, I know.
Yes. And then the girl, which the actress is very familiar.
The young one?
Yes.
So Vanessa Hudgens.
I was going to say, from High School Musical, right? It looked like her.
Yeah.
So, great job.
She's totally different than High School Musical. She's very, like, deadly with the weapon. Looks up to Mike kind of as like a role model kind of person who's like takes charge.
This is Mike Lowrey, and she wants to be that like him, like get in, bust in, be part of it.
Exactly.
So you kind of have that playing of like, one of the team that wants to be more like him, but is been trained and stuff to be doing it this way. Correct. You have the one guy who is like all gadgets, drones, whatever, and he's like, I'm better than you, and then you have the guy who's like, who could physically get in there and do the work, but just doesn't want to.
Yeah,
and we find out
he's more like a hacker kind of.
Yeah, we find out why he had an issue where he actually killed someone by accident with his strength and stuff. I think it was like a punch to the face or something like that, or
something like that. Yeah,
just took someone out and then it just like scarred him for life. He's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be that person that just kills people. Which is completely opposite, because Mike Lowrey and Marcus have no issue. Well Mike Lowrey has no issue with killing people because it's a situation of them or me. I'd rather it be them. They're bad guys. They deserve it. And Marcus
kind of turns to God and be like, I'm not gonna.
He made a deal with God: if you heal him, you keep him alive, don't let him die, I will like
take all the violence away.
Yes, stop violence, go on a new path. And then again, they go on a mission where he doesn't want to kill, he doesn't want to hurt anybody, and he gets punched in the face a couple times. Because of that, he's like, okay, you do it your way.
With my heart.
And then he ends up retiring, and then has to come back out of retirement.
That's right.
There's some really good moments there, and how things are handled, and just again, like Vargas is dealing with the fact that he's a family man now. He's got like a grandson, and he calls Mike up. Oh, we have to meet like an informant. They called me, so I'm taking you to him. And then he looks in the backseat and he's like, "You brought your grandson? Like, what's the matter with you?" And he's like, "But I'm not a cop anymore. Like, what do you want from me?" So it's funny. They just overall it was just great.
Yeah, I like it was some callbacks to the original two, some new stuff, which is great, and a good mix of both. So I think they'll they obviously left it open up for more, which I thought was great. I wasn't sure if this was going to be like the last hurrah, kind of finish it off, but we know now that they're at least thinking of Bad Boys 4. And with both of them there, which I'm sure some of the new cast will be coming along for the ride, which is great, and maybe becoming more of a franchise. Even when if Will Smith and Martin Lawrence want to retire, maybe the new people are big enough that people like their characters and like, I'll continue seeing them like a Hobbs and Shaw kind of spin-off, or if they just want to continue on with Bad Boys or Bad Group or whatever they want to do, they can kind of rename it or continue the name and just
absolutely. But now they got to go forward without the original captain, so it's going to be the female captain going forward. Which
correct.
Did you get the sense that they were seeing each other dating, because they had a thing, and then Marcus even says like she was there calling about you every single day while you were like out and stuff, and you coded 3 times and stuff like that, and like
I think there might be a little bit of a romance, but now thinking back to him and Marcus's sister, maybe it's just a little thing. And now she'll be like, I'm your captain, we can't have anything, and then that was the past, and now we're going forward.
Makes sense. So so I mean, we're not gonna go through every single scene like we do the normal reviews, but I think overall, the story was solid. The action sequences were great. Comedy was on point, and it wasn't just slapstick. They had like banter. They had like, again, the new people playing off each other. There was callbacks to old stuff, but it wasn't a situation where you look at like Dumb and Dumber 2. right? Or is that Dumb and Dumber? I can't remember which is the one where they brought Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels back.
Yeah.
But they just kind of redid a lot of the same jokes, and it's not the same thing. Whereas
Oh, yeah.
here, you have some references and stuff, but it's all new material.
Exactly.
While still respecting the original stuff, and it all worked. It all clicked right.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, they made it really well. Good balance. There's some sadness. There's some some emotional parts. So it just wasn't about throwing together a remake of a movie that did well and people liked, and then ruining it by just continuing the same jokes, the same stick, everything. So they made it new, fresh, updated, and I think they can grow this into a big franchise.
Absolutely. And then the emotion of like Will Smith, which he does great with his dramatic acting, being able to cry on point and all that kind of stuff. And then him and his son dying or potentially dying, and him dealing with that, and it's just great. Like just throughout the movie, him struggling with being without his partner anymore and having to go lone wolf, and then again having to do things a different way, and kind of everything changing, and he doesn't want it to change, but then being forced to change with the fact that he has a son and stuff, and then Marcus comes back, and they kind of find a mutual understanding to kind of keep doing this for life, supposedly. But doing it in a new way, because like again, Will Smith talks about like, I'm gonna try to penetrate his soul
with my heart.
And they both kind of like, it's not just about getting in and killing and body count. It's about more than that. So I thought it was really cool how they kind of evolved the characters, but kind of set up the way it ends with Will Smith walking into jail because his son has to go to jail for the crimes he committed. But just like in society, if you get like an inmate is willing to help you out on a case, they can reduce the sentence and stuff. And so he says, we need you on a mission and stuff. Are you looking to reduce your sentence? He's like, absolutely. Like, I want to work with my father. I want to be a good guy now. And of course, Will Smith is like, I want to get you out of here. So let's do this stuff together. So now we know he's going to be in the new movie with them. They're going to work together, which is going to be pretty funny.
And he's pretty lethal. So he's fun to watch as well.
We have Marcus Burnett, but they're probably going to, the fact that he is an inmate, like, oh, you can't kill though. Because then you're trying to reduce your sentence. So you have to go in, but you can't kill.
He'll be like the new age Mike Lowry. Where
like,
they were all bad, so it's like,
you
didn't shoot anyone. Well, I shot someone. It's like I can't help, but they're all bad, and I was helping out for the greater good, kind of thing. So I like to see how they're gonna use all the new characters and mush them together with the older ones, and go from there.
All right. So did you like this one better than the originals? And if so, why? Like, why do you if you like the original better, why did you like one of the originals better than this one?
So, unlike most movies, I think these movies get better each time. The first one was good. The sequel I thought was much better, which is very uncommon. Usually sequels are not very good, and they're just trying to make more money off the franchise. And then this third one I thought had a better storyline, was a little more realistic, which was nice, but still had the comedy, the emotions, the action, and the new age tech. So they kind of brought it to life, brought it up to 2020, and went with it. So I thought as they keep going, up to 3 for now, I think they've been getting better, and I hope that 4 will continue that trend. And just they keep getting better and better as they do.
Now, does it have any details as to if 4 is supposed to be out, and like are they doing like an every 2 years type situation like Fast and Furious, or is it going to be like, oh, they're in talks, it might be 4 or 5 years later?
It's been announced. They don't have a date to it.
Okay.
So it's very recent that they just announced it.
Okay.
Yeah. So no information yet. Just Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are supposedly coming back for it.
Yeah, so I agree. I think this one was definitely better than the first 2, from all the points that we've mentioned multiple times throughout this review. And I think that going forward, like I said, if they do give it a Fast and Furious treatment, they can add 2, 3, 4 movies, and I'm all in.
Yeah,
like I like the chemistry, I like the cast, I like the comedy of it. They have some over the top moments, but it's not over the top for the sake of being over the top, like Fast and Furious is. And it's enjoyable, and if they keep the story, the plot done well, they get good writers. Yeah, by all means, this would be a new favorite series of mine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, there you go. There you have it, folks. That's our official review for Bad Boys for Life. We definitely recommend that you watch it in theaters. It was a great experience. Support this movie for sure. We're definitely looking forward to the sequel, and we'll probably definitely watch that and review that when that comes out.
Definitely.
So with that, let us know your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Let us know if you like the movie, if you've seen it, or if you liked our review, if you agree or disagree with what we're saying and how we're reviewing this particular film. If you'd like to support us, please subscribe by clicking that subscribe button. You can shoot us an email with future movies you'd like us to review at nerdstalkinfo@gmail.com. And as always, friends, stay nerdy.